This is LS, and you're on Thorin's YouTube channel, so cut the Western shit.
China's JackeyLove has been the starting AD carry of IG Invictus Gaming for the last 2 years. During that time, he won an LPL split in this spring, he won Season 8 Worlds last year, he finished top 4 at both MSI and the most recent World Championship. The rumour, though, is that he is leaving IG and he will go... That's what fill in the blank. Technically, we don't know. There's different rumours depending on the team, some of them more exciting than others. Now, that makes this, in my opinion, an ideal time to discuss the topic of JackeyLove, the player, his role within IG, and the implications for the future. Because I personally consider him one of the most overrated players in the world relative to his position for most of his career. So let's get into it. First of all, as a carry, when I talk about being a carry, now, don't get confused with the fact JackeyLove's role is called AD carry. I know, right? We'll tell him he's called marksman, but fuck that logic. Maybe now people say bot laner because people are playing Yasuo and some of the majors. I still call it AD carry. I imagine AD carry champions will largely still be the strongest in history, and that role will come back and flourish one day as the best role in the game, potentially again. So the problem I have, though, is I consider JackeyLove an AD carry mostly only in name for the role. Then you got to consider he plays in China in the LPL, a region famed for some of the greatest AD carries of all time. Wei Zhao, Name, Deft when he was over there. Obviously, more recently, Uzi has been the absolute man. Now, the problem I have is this. During most of JackeyLove's career, whenever people in the LPL make their list of AD carries, or whenever people in the world make their list of LPL, right, for LPL, they just pick him because he's in one of the best teams and he has he very rarely loses, his win rates look great on champions, he gets a lot of kills in certain big games where he has a massive team fight, or he gets a Kaiser and it's just to level 18. Outside of China, I only ever tended to see him picked by people who are trying to be hipsters and be like, oh, you would pick Devil if they're there. I'd pick JackeyLove myself. I'm a bit of an LPL enthusiast. Like those sorts of people, right? So my problem is this. The idea he's one of the very best AD carries in terms of the last 2 years, listen, at times he had highlight games. A couple of occasions, usually weeks in length, he would even be the primary carry. But aside from that, most of his career, that hasn't been the case. And it would even make sense to you if you knew the history of his team, IG Invictus Gaming. IG has been a solo lane team for a long time. I mean, you could argue when Rookie first came, they were just fucking one lane, right? So this IG, quite frankly, over their history, is no different, except for in the lead up to Worlds and maybe briefly in Season 8 when the Shy would have some weird games when he first came into the league. But I'll get to that later. So first and foremost, carrying is not just getting kills in a game that others primarily win for you, and you just come along for the ride as one of the guys there helping get some kills. It's also definitely not winning a game where you don't have to do a lot, where someone else wins the game for you and you're just chilling and nothing happens. I call that being a passenger. You can probably think of a few players I would consider passengers and not the absolute best players. Looper from Samsung White would obviously be one. Now, JackeyLove, for most of his time in IG, was quite frankly the third carry threat. Mainly when we're talking about when they had the Shy and Rookie in the team. Well, you know what? That means, by definition, he's not a true carry. He's not a carry. He is not the one carrying most of the time. He's the third in the pecking order. He's certainly not the best. Not in his team. He's fucking third in his own team. Never mind the bloody region and the position. You don't get credit for things you didn't do. So even if you say, well, in those games he did get carried, if he'd have come online later, or, if they'd have played through him, then he could have carried. Like, could means fuck all. He didn't. He didn't do those things, therefore he doesn't get credit for what you imagined he could or would have done. Otherwise, guess what? I'll just make Frogger a world champion, a 10-time MVP. He didn't do those things, so I don't do that. So my problem here is, contrast JackeyLove with someone almost none of you would even pick out if you don't watch the LPL. Mystic from World Elite. Remember that team from a few years back, Season 7 Worlds? Season 6 as well, I think. This is a guy who has the hard carry in his team. He's a very good player as well. The team runs everything through him. And you know what? He's made it to top 4 at Worlds. He's made it quite deep in LPL a few times. Here's the issue. In Season 8, JackeyLove's first year, IG was largely about the Shy and Rookie. Rookie unanimously because he was a perennial MVP/MVP candidate. He was the best player in the region. He's one of the absolute best players in the world. Forget positions. The Shy in Season 8 was a bit more streaky. He would even be subbed out sometimes as a result because if you had Duke in, he brought more consistency and macro and could team fight better. So the interesting thing for me is if you look over the last 2 years with Shy's incredible peak Worlds and then sometimes this year in the spring, and then you look over taking into account Season 8 as well, what you find is I would estimate the breakdowns around this percentage. I would say top lane, the Chi, 30% of the games he plays, he's actually carrying, and hard carrying at that. 50% of the games that are played that have Rookie in them, I think he carries the game absolutely. I think he's absolutely one of the most outrageous players to ever play League of Legends. Only 20%, but hey, still 20%, the bot lane does it. Primarily JackeyLove. So there's the problem. In Season 9, Season 9 Summer, that is, this is where it's different. When Rookie was initially missing, he had family issues. The Chi was in a weird post-MSI slump where he had a whole bunch of games until later in the split, primarily going towards the Gauntlet. Yes, I will agree. In this particular split, actually JackeyLove did step up. He did get the chance to carry, and he did carry a whole bunch of games. Showed a lot of that potential that people have hinted at, people have seen when he's had the good games. But here's the problem. Over his career, consider who he plays with and who carries him. So he has the Chi, a top lane god, both in lane, in fights, a guy who doesn't even get vision set up for him, doesn't fucking need it, a guy who takes losing matchups and wins them, a guy where if he gets a kill or two in the top lane, they don't just gangbang the top lane with the jungler all the time, they just let the Chi go to work because he's got an edge, they don't need it anymore. The problem here is, when he's taking those losing matchups, when he's creating mad map pressure with losing matchups, when he doesn't need ganks, etc., that means either the jungler can help JackeyLove a little bit more, that means in the draft, people are banning out the Chi, so JackeyLove's getting his Kai'Sa, one of the most OP champions in the game for AD carry anytime he wants, pretty much getting it all day long. Not least because people are even thinking it's not even going to come online by the time we have to have fucking dealt with the Rookie. So if Rookie and the Chi, so if we're already at that position, we're probably fucked anyway, right? Rookie, another player he plays with, unbelievable player. Genuinely, aside from team accomplishments, a real rival for Faker if you want to look at longevity of elite level player, and obviously controls the whole game when he plays. Then you even add in Ning when he was at his best. Yes, very streaky player, but his style, gank a lot, create loads of pressure everywhere, constantly draw attention from the other teams. I would contrast the role that JackeyLove played within IG somewhat with Season 4, Season 5 Reckless. So we're talking 2014, 2015. Now, this is who Season 4, Season 5 Reckless was. He had monster solo laners who could carry. He had Soaz, he had Expecate, some would argue in their prime. He had monster solos the next year. He had Huni, considered one of the best players in the world at the time. He had Febiven, Breakout, one of the best mids that we had in Europe at the time. His job was don't lose lane, and then later, if those other players haven't won the game for you already, join a team fight with your items that you farmed up for, do damage as an AD carry should, that is your basic role. But generally, you're not going to be a carry, you're not going to be a star, and I always thought it was very unfair when people tried to say Reckless was one of the best AD carries at the time. People like the Forgivens and Freezes of the world had to do so much more with so much less, and did carry way more games, even than this guy who won the championships and was going 18-0. Now, this is where JackeyLove definitely differs and contrasts to Reckless. In terms of the hierarchy of who the threats are, yes, he's like that. In terms of the fact that he's not going to get, in theory, all the resources and attention and won't even get the opportunity to carry, yes, he's like Reckless in that sense. Where he differs from Reckless, and where I really fuck with JackeyLove actually, is they don't play safe in their lane like the Yellow Star Reckless one used to. What actually JackeyLove and Baolan do, the bot lane of IG, is they play up. They play as though they were the RNG bot lane. They play as though they are supposed to carry the game. With this aggro positioning and aiming to win lane, first of all they do, but then again, people elsewhere are drawing attention, people are getting banned, so you're having to go deal with Rookie and the Chi. With that said, they're able to put on map pressure. They're able to force sometimes jungle attention to them, which can help the others. That's why it is a super team on some levels. The problem I have is this. You can't then make out like, even though that is incredibly hard to do, like that means alone that he's carrying the games. Yeah, maybe he would if he got the chance to, but he didn't. I will say one massive consideration I give to JackeyLove is he plays with Baolan as a support. I think Baolan is an even more, let's face it, an absurdly overrated player. As far as I know, it's mainly political reasons that keep him on the team and mean they don't just upgrade and get a real super team. Yes, if you've seen Baolan highlights on Rakan, they look sick. He's not that great on very much else though. And in fact, what people might not know is coming into MSI was probably looking his best. At Worlds, he was in the fuck until it got late in the tournament. Elsewhere, he always was a player who was a liability. I'll give him credit. In the spring of Season 9 this year, he did improve a lot. But I think he regressed by the time he got to Worlds. He had a decent summer help supporting JackeyLove. At Worlds, I thought he was an absolute train wreck. And I thought largely that was about the top laner and the fucking mid laner carrying the tournament. Like, JackeyLove didn't do a whole lot there, to be fair. You couldn't really do that much as AD carry, in my opinion, unless you had a special setup like the FPXs of the world. So JackeyLove as a player in isolation, take him out of IG for a second. First of all, because of the history he's had in IG, he's a very unique player. The role he's had to play in his team. Nobody really plays like that who's the third carry threat traditionally. One thing I think is very cool, though, is first of all, he's a mechanically very strong player, as you'd expect from a Chinese AD carry. He's a good laner, if not a very good laner. But interestingly, this is why he's so unique. I remember Kelsey telling me a story that he's someone here, when he came through solo queue, he would basically just int like a motherfucker because he was one of those people pushing his limits until eventually you just start inting less and less and less. But at that point, you're incredibly strong in all your lanes, all your matchups, fighting, going for 1v1, everything. So because he went through that, and then sometimes in IG he played without resources and still played up, certainly he's a very unique player. Like, his skill set's very interesting. I want to see, though, because obviously he's good in team fights, that goes without saying, what happens if he does go to another team? And what happens if he goes to a team that plays around him? Then he'll have a chance. I actually believe then. I would have said, because Uzi I didn't have that great a summer to me, I would say, because they carried a lot of games, you could say JackeyLove was the best ADC potentially in the world, but in LPL in the summer, but now he'll get a real chance. Now he potentially could get the Uzi I treatment and get all the resources pumped into him and actually challenge Uzi I legitimately for the title of best ADC, not just in China, but in the world. Because for now, he's only played at doing that. He's only taken a few holidays in the Carolina and then come back home and watch from a safe distance as others take him to the championship. Try winning Worlds and LPL splits as the primary carry in the LPL. Try doing it without sick solo lane carries and stars. Just good players. Have basically your version of when normal teams have like 1 or 2 carries. Most of the best teams have 2 big carries and then 1 player who's sort of just playing off the weak side. Try doing it when that's the top or the mid. Let's see how you carry then, because I certainly think potential-wise, a fabulous player. In terms of what he shows in the chances he gets, yeah, really good player. But he isn't someone who's a superstar carry. I would contrast him to some degree with Tom Brady in the beginning of the Patriots dynasty, where they won the 3 out of the 4 years. But he was largely a game manager. He didn't throw as much. They had a good running back. They were in a situation where their defense was amazing. They had a great kicker. They won for other reasons than just Tom Brady. He did his job. He game managed it. He certainly played his role that helped them win. He wasn't the primary reason they won, though. Now, later in his career, he's been the absolute main reason. The sort of offensive dynasty he's had in the latter years has been incredible. He's obviously one of the greatest players to ever play in the NFL. But he was actually overrated in the early days. Anyone who says he was the best during the first part of the dynasty was wrong. They were misunderstanding the way the game of the NFL has worked, and actually the way that team balance works in terms of roles and where your strengths are and what's making you win. So I think it's the same with JackeyLove. It's always been the same with Reckless for most of his career, except when he had the odd carry split. I think it's just an interesting way to break down his carry conundrum. This video was kindly supported by Alexander Rao, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, Dane Cuskley, Dean Tanglis, Chi Mao, JDubs, Mohammed, Alabdul, Razzaq, NateDOhDoubleG, Patrick Ribeiro, Tobias Bernasconi, Who the Fuck is Viathan, and special thanks always goes out to Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Would you like to ask me a question for my monthly video AMA? Do you want teasers for upcoming content that I've got? Do you want to take part in a discussion with me? Well, if you would like any of these perks or to support my work, put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today at the Patreon link in the description box below.